Welcome to the Tough Decisions Network for Entrepreneurs. I'm Dan Handford, and my wife, Dennae, and I interview successful people sharing stories behind tough decisions that they've had to make along their journey as an entrepreneur. Before we get started, let's hear from one of our sponsors. Have you ever thought about investing in real estate, but find yourself so busy that you don't have time for it? Do you have FOMO, which is the fear of missing out? At HandfordCapital.com, we help investors with passive real estate investments that project better returns than traditional investment vehicles such as the stock market. If you'd like to find out more about our passive real estate investments, visit HandfordCapital.com. That's HANDFORD Capital.com. We will jump on a call with you to discuss your investment goals and to see if our investments are a good fit for you. This advertisement is not to be construed as an offer or recommendation to buy or sell a security. Visit HandfordCapital.com.
Thanks for joining us for the Friday edition of the Tough Decisions podcast. As you know, Friday is usually Dan and myself discussing one, maybe two topics related to our businesses or our experience in our businesses. But as you also probably know, the last several weeks I have done the Friday episodes by myself, and I am doing that again today. Hopefully this will be the last day. The property that Dan has been working to get closed is supposed to close today, and so we're really excited about that. I know he's really excited about that. I'm excited for him and also for me that he will be done with this hurdle, but we're going to get that done today, so we're super happy, very excited, glad to get it done before the end of the year. And I am going to talk with you today for just a few minutes about a couple of topics, several things that I have sort of just collected and want to tell you about, some things that I find interesting, maybe give you a little bit of food for thought, some current events, things that are happening right now, and some of the principles or the lessons that we can take from them. The first one I want to talk to you about is a 7-year-old named Ryan who has made approximately $22 million. Let me say that again. He's made $22 million on YouTube. And when I saw that, my first thought was, man, my kids need to kick it in gear and get busy, right? I mean, his parents have got to be loving that. Ryan is part of a group of people known as unboxers. Now, I have to be honest and tell you that I didn't know that this was a YouTube thing, and I probably should have, but my only experience, or my main experience, I guess, with unboxers is that I have several companies that I follow on Facebook, and they do an unboxing video, and it appears in my newsfeed, I would say 2 to 3 times a week. They show one of their users unboxing their product, telling you what they have in the box and how they plan to use it. And obviously, along the way, peppered throughout is why their products are superior, and that's what you're supposed to get. Ryan is part of the YouTube trend of unboxers, and basically he has himself filmed while he's unboxing toys. And the cool thing about Ryan is that, like a typical 7-year-old, he not only unboxes the toy and tells you about all the neat features, which is what appeals to the company, but along the way you also get squeals and screams of delight as he finds these new toys. And most of his revenue has actually come through selling commercials or advertisements that precede the actual video. Now, you might find Ryan's videos or other videos of unboxers. You might learn some of your own lessons from them. And I think the thing that I sort of take away from this is that, sometimes we overthink things and we make them too complicated. And in reality, we just need to do it. Just do it, right? I mean, Ryan's made $22 million and all he's doing is unboxing toys. And you might say, well, now I can't do that because that idea is stolen. And it is. I mean, I'm sure there's room for more unboxers of different items, but, unboxing is a popular thing now. But you might be one idea away from something that really catches on, and you just need to do it. And it doesn't have to be complicated. You don't need to overthink it. You just need to do it. And all he's done is videoed himself unboxing toys and thrown them up there on YouTube, and there he is. Now, Obviously, I'm sure he's had some help, and now at this point he has an agent to help him sell the advertising and so on, but it didn't start that way. So the lesson that I take away from that is, whatever that idea is for 2019 for you, just do it. Don't make it too complicated. Don't think that you have to have, flashing lights and banners and all that good stuff. Just get out there and start working on it. And the rest will follow. You'll get the ideas. And a lot of times we don't really get the good inspiration until we really get into something. And so sometimes we just need to get started. I think another way I've seen this play out for me is that, a lot of times if I have something that I've been thinking about and mulling over, I really just need to put words into it or put it into words, whether it's, writing it down or talking to someone about it. I think that's why we women like to talk a lot, sometimes because it helps us work through our thoughts, just to hear ourselves say what we're thinking. And we don't always say it exactly the way that we want to say it the first time. We don't always get it just right, and we don't always articulate our thoughts just right the first time, but as we work through those things, then we're able to do it. But if we insist on making it perfect before we get started, then a lot of times, we would never get started. And Ryan now has, millions of dollars in revenue because he got started with something very, very simple. It seems almost too simple. I mean, how can you make $22 million unboxing toys? Is that even possible? It seems too easy, too simple. But yet he started, I'm sure with some help. He put that first video up there, and now it is where it is because he got started. And again, with the emphasis on something very simple. He just did it. Just do that idea. Just start working on your idea and then see where it takes you. The second thing I wanted to tell you about was the company that was named Marketer of the Year for 2018. And maybe you've already heard this. I don't know. It's relatively recent news. But the company that was named Marketer of the Year is a company that I'm sure we've all heard of. And that company was Nike. Now, I'll give you just a minute to sort of think back into what has happened in 2018. The reason that they were named Marketer of the Year is primarily for their ad that they put out with the now former football player Colin Kaepernick. And you probably remember the controversy that surrounded that advertisement because of the political position that Nike was taking. And I'm not really going to discuss the politics of it. We could have a very, very long discussion on that. And that's not really why I'm telling you about it. The reason why I'm telling you about their being named Marketer of the Year is that they were willing to take a position. We've heard from a lot of entrepreneurs as we've talked to them the second half of 2018. And when I say we, I'm talking about Dan and I. We've talked to a lot of entrepreneurs, a lot of business owners now in the second half of 2018. And we've heard a lot of them say that, a turning point for their business was when they decided to take a stand or when they decided to fill a niche or define themselves very clearly. And what always happens when we define ourselves very clearly is that there's a certain group of people that we're not going to be able to serve. There's a certain group of people that we're no longer going to resonate with. They're not going to be able to work with us because either they don't fit our niche or, as in Nike's case, they polarized themselves and they made a decision to do that. And no doubt in some ways it may have hurt their business, but they took a very clear position. And what happened? I mean, for several days, all I saw on my Facebook feed was Nike this and Nike that and Nike this and oh yes, Nike this. And even the people that disagreed with them gave them the press. And the point is, that's what Nike was looking for, I think. They got a ton of attention. A lot of people talking about them. Everybody, it seemed, talking about them for weeks at a time. And yes, did they remove themselves from a certain market and did they probably alienate people that may never purchase Nike products again? Perhaps. But they also took a very clear position that I'm sure endeared them to many people. And they got lots of attention and lots of publicity. And I would dare say even people who disagree with them, they still know the Nike brand. And when they get ready to go buy some apparel or shoes, so Nike was named Marketer of the Year because of the buzz that they created and because of the attention that they created when they took a position. Now, how does that relate to you as an entrepreneur? Well, my challenge to you would be, don't be afraid to put yourself in a corner. And by that, I mean, don't be afraid to really narrow down and nail down who your primary client is. And don't be afraid when you realize that you've actually taken away a small part of the market from yourself. Because what happens when we put ourselves in a position? Well, there's naturally going to be people who don't agree. There's going to be people that, we can no longer serve. And we've heard entrepreneurs say that, I was trying to help everybody. I was trying to sell to everybody. And you can't sell to everybody because inevitably, you end up doing not a great job with that. And then you lose customers because of that. And there's a certain group of people that are not going to want your service anyway because you're trying to serve everybody. So don't be afraid to find your niche. Find who it is that you want to serve and who you can serve really well. And then don't be afraid to, turn those people away that don't fit that or that you can't help. Or even, hey, what about sending them to a person that who can help them and who can serve them and can, bring in some revenue from that customer, whereas you can't or you choose not to. And that's okay. You can send them to someone else who will be able to. Don't try to be everything to everybody. Don't be afraid to take a position that is going to perhaps remove some possible client or remove a possible customer from your pool of customers, but it's inevitably going to bring you more. And so that's what Nike did. They were named the Marketer of the Year because of the buzz and because of I hesitate, it's not really hysteria. I was going to say hysteria, but that might be a little bit of a strong word. But because of the attention that they brought to themselves simply by taking a very definite position, a polarizing position. And sometimes that's what needs to be done. The third and final thing that I wanted to tell you about, I just found kind of funny, and I think you might appreciate it as well. I don't know if you've heard or not, but the discount shoe store, Payless, decided that they wanted to see just how much money people would be willing to pay for their shoes. Now, I don't know if Payless is a regional thing or not. I know that we have them here in South Carolina. We had them in Alabama where I grew up, but Payless basically is a highly discounted shoe store. Most of their shoes, I would say, can be purchased between $15 and $20. When they're on sale, much cheaper than that. I've been in there at times to find shoes for between $5 and $10, which is almost unheard of now. So, highly discounted shoe chain. And what they wanted to know is how much would people be willing to pay for their shoes. So, they leased a space in California. I think it was somewhere in one of the metropolitan areas of California. They leased a space that was formerly occupied by an Armani exchange, and they put their shoes, their 1995 shoes, there on display, and they called, instead of calling the store Payless, they called it Palessi, or Palessi. Maybe Palessi, I'm not sure how they pronounced it, but it was basically a play on Payless to Palessi or Palessi. And they put the shoes in there, and they brought in these, celebrities and very high net worth people who dressed in the posh, luxurious style, and they had them look over the shoes, and they asked them, what would you pay for this? And the answer, of course, by now you've probably guessed, was hundreds of dollars. People were saying, they'd pay $200-$300, in some cases up to $500 for these pairs of shoes. Now, what I find interesting is that Palessi, or Payless, they actually sold these shoes and they processed the payments on the customer credit card, but in the end, they actually refunded the money because that's not what they were looking to do. And I would be the first to say, I don't think you should, gouge people and be unfair. But I think there's a couple of things we can learn here. First of all, Payless, or Palessi, they actually took video of this whole exchange, where the customers came in and, well, how much would you pay for these shoes? And they'd get it on. They actually took video of all these conversations and exchanges, and now they're going to use those cuts for advertisement, which is, I think, brilliant. But the other thing that I think is something that we can all take away is that, sometimes we may discount our services and our products to the detriment of our company and our businesses. Sometimes I don't think that we value the products and services that we offer as we need to. And that's another thing that Dan and I have heard multiple times the last half of this year as we've talked with entrepreneurs is that, it took them a while to realize what their services were actually worth. And it's a hard sometimes decision to make to raise the cost or raise the price of your services. But sometimes that's the best thing that you can do for your business because two things. Number one, you bring in people, customers, clients who actually really want your services. If your services are too cheap, then everybody can have them. And you may have paying clients that they don't really value your service. And so you're working super, super hard to try to meet needs that they don't even really value themselves. They just have your service because it's cheap, it doesn't cost them much, and, they can do it. The second way I think that it helps your company is that maybe you won't have to have quite as many clients or customers, but that means you can do a really, really excellent job for the customers you have. And, maybe you don't want to lower the number of customers at all, but perhaps, having one or two fewer would enable you to do a much better job for the ones you have. And then, of course, you boost their productivity, you make them better, and that we all know leads to referrals, which is the best kind of lead that you can have, somebody that's referred to your business by an existing client or existing customer, because if they're referred to you by an existing client or customer, it's almost impossible not to sell them on your product or service. So I think that there's several lessons that we can learn there from Payless or Palacy. Plus, I just found that an interesting story and another very interesting advertising tactic to take as well. So I hope you enjoyed just a couple, 3 stories that I've had come across my computer and my news feed the last several weeks, kind of been collecting them and wanted to tell you about those things. Reach out to us. Let us know what you might be thinking about, how you might be thinking that you could apply any of these things to your business in the new year. And we will see you next week. I will talk with you on Sunday when we continue our discussion of Talk Like TED. We'll be looking at the second rule for talking like TED, or presenting your ideas in a persuasive and compelling way. So we'll look at that on Sunday. And then, of course, next week we'll have another full week of interviews with entrepreneurs and the tough decisions that they've made.
Thank you for listening to the Tough Decisions Network. Be sure to visit toughdecisions.net to gain access to show notes for this episode and to join our free weekly entrepreneur email, where we will send you news about the latest technology for your business, inspiring quotes, and the latest books for entrepreneurs. That's toughdecisions.net.